Looks like we're live. Hey, everybody. I hope you're having a great Thursday afternoon. We've taken to doing these Thursday lunch lives with John Willis and whoever else I can wrangle into the live stream. And today I'm excited because I have Niti Bali. Niti, the pharmacist, is here. Say hi, Niti.
Hey, guys.
Now, the reason I brought Niti on is we've got the Self-reliance Festival coming. And this is where we're just showing people different ways of taking care of yourself, from blacksmithing to processing a rabbit. We've got a guy coming out and smoking a pig. We got all sorts of cool stuff going on. Soap making. I just found out today we got soap making happening. And we'll have a presentation from Dr. Barry about the proper human diet. And Niti has a message for us about self-reliance when you can't get off your butt and move. So let's just start with that, Niti.
Yeah.
How does that work?
What does that mean? Like they physically are not capable, or they're just in action?
Well, which way are you coming at this, Nicole? Because
any way you want, dear. You always talk about, like, you can't take care of yourself, you can't get off the couch. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. So currently, I am not 100%. I came back from Tennessee not 100%. My whole family kind of is not 100%. And whatever I'm doing is really powerful because we blew out all the power in my space at the food church. What we actually did was, when we came home, I walked in there one day and I walked in there actually on Sunday, and I was like, I'm always checking my freezers every day, like once a day. I go check everything. And I was like, it kind of smells like a cow barn right now. What's going on? And I start walking around and my lights are dim. I'm not clear what's happening. All of a sudden I realize I have no power in my largest freezers, and everything's still cold. It's still safe. But something's blown out. I can't understand. So I call my electrician, who's on my emergency call, and he is amazing. You know, this is that relationship thing. If you don't know the people who have the power, then you are screwed. Okay. So I can call my guy. He shows up and he does all my electrical in-house because I don't trust anybody to do my electrical. And he's like, oh my God. He went outside because whatever was inside, he couldn't figure it out. He goes outside, he comes running back in, and he's like, you're not grounded. Unplug everything. We come inside and I unplug everything, and he goes, you have 280 volts coming through every outlet in this place because the wires outside have been corroded to the degree that your grounding has fallen out. And now your space is not grounded. And so we got.
By the way, this is how people die, folks.
Yeah.
That is literally not a good thing.
Right. I mean, there's literally power blasting through everywhere. I'm just praying that my freezers didn't actually get fried, that the safeties came through and that it stopped the power or it dropped it or whatever. But basically we had to unplug everything and then call Duke Power, who comes out. Now there's a war going on between Duke Power and my landlord about who's responsible for his damn box. And I'm just like, okay, next. Like, I just can't even care about these people. So those assholes come and turn everything off, which is good because we don't need fires. But at the same time, because I got power blast, that's how much power I just brought. I was telling Nicole just the other day that I have this idea because I'm about to take the food church on tour. And if we go on tour, it must be a pretty good damn idea, because I'll tell you what happened is everything blew up in my life.
Yeah.
Blew up.
You know what I hear?
Uh-huh.
Remember that whole called to the ocean thing? Remember that whole stay in North Carolina? All I just heard is you probably need to come to Tennessee, is what I think that means.
I mean, something's going on. Something is going on.
We have power here.
For now.
For now, that's true.
Right?
We have ice, massive ice coming. We've got trees about 10, 15 minutes from here are starting to bow over,
Oh, really?
ice on the power line. Yeah, we're ready for it. Like we're
Yeah.
good. Power goes out for 2 weeks. We're going to be reading a lot of books, I guess, for a little while.
Yeah, well, I got thousands and thousands of dollars worth of meat. So, you know, I go to get a U-Haul to start moving freezers back over to my place where I know my power is fine. And my neighbor, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I told him what was happening. And he's like, "Oh, no, you don't need to move." He goes, "I got power." And he literally told me, "Get in the car. Come on, let's go get some cords. We need some 100-foot cords." And he drove me to go get cord. He goes, "I don't have enough power cord." I mean, anyway, I would need my own power cords, whatever. We went and got some power cords, and he has me hooked up in his space. So he's like, "You don't need to do all that." He goes, "Why didn't you just call me?" I was like, "Because it's a lot. It's a big ask. Like, I'm not going to ask somebody for like, you know, I needed 7 outlets basically." And he's like, "No, I got you." So we're okay, except we have no power in terms of we have no lights, we have no computers. I'm serving the members in daylight, which is fine. All it's got me doing is sitting in there going, what am I going to do to make this work without electricity? Because I got to be able to operate without power. I'm being polished right now is what's happening.
So my freezers power off, stay frozen for days. So if I only had one outlet to run them, I would run each freezer for a couple hours at a time and then move to the other one. As far as power, you can pick your brand, Jackery, Blue Eddy, you know, whatever you like, Goal Zero. They have battery packs. I've got a battery pack that's about this size that I can recharge the computer off of 3-4 times. I can do the phone 6 times. I can charge this. My battery pack can stay plugged into the wall. I can plug it in off the cigarette lighter and charge it. And then I have solar panels. And they have them where you can scale them. They have a box the size of a small generator. They call them solar generators. It's really just a battery.
I have one, John.
Yeah. So you can run.
Power one of my freezers.
It's not going to power your freezers, but you could run all the rest of your operation off of it.
Well, my warehouse lights, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to plug those in, but like, yeah, I don't know how to light the whole space up that way because it's not mine, right? I mean, I don't know. There must be something for me to plug it into. I got to figure that out. This is why I just need my own place. Like, I just need my own property. Which you know. I mean, I know
you need your own property for sure.
I know, and I'm working on it. It's not as easy as, you know, like I could just move out to the farm. But I'm still trying to service everybody in town the way I need to. And I'm trying to, you know.
Maybe somebody in town needs to service everybody in town, and you need to move out to the farm. And they need to come to the farm to get the things to service everybody in town.
We're actively looking. So it's not like we're not. We're actively looking. And we do have a lot of people here in North Carolina begging us to stay. So
yeah,
it is lovely, though, John, that I have people in Tennessee that want me to come out there. And you guys really make it hard to say no. I will say that.
The thing is, like, people, I was that person, right? San Diego, right? I need to leave San Diego. Like, until you are someplace else and do business someplace else, you don't realize how throttled back and restrictive you are. You are a raging waterfall that's being restricted and tried to push through a garden hose, and you can't open up, and you're just losing so much of that power head. When you come in from one of these cities with all these regulations and you come into where we are or where Nicole is, you're like, holy shit, what could I have done with the last 20 years where they've just been throwing away all the power.
Yeah.
It's funny. I saw somebody share a graphic that had, like, you know, average income and then the really rich and how big that gap is. And they're like, what can we do to address this problem of the rich having so much? And all I wanted to say was, you can stop worrying about how the rich have so much and start focusing on that. How do we raise that bottom line higher? Don't worry about the gap. Don't worry about how high the highest is. Worry about get all the shit out of the way of these people on this line right here who could be moving forward But every time they turn around, there's another form they have to fill out, another person who has to come inspect their thing, somebody else telling them, no, you can't do that. It is unsafe to eat grass-fed meat or whatever it is. Get that shit out of the way, because people have no idea how bad it is.
Right. Well, I haven't let them really limit me. The only problems I'm having is with like the space situation right now, which is just a repair that we're getting done. So I'm having
put a food church logo on the headlamp and just give it out to all your members.
What?
So how long? Like what's the holdup? When we have something
my
happen
electrician is coming to do it. He just is, or he's waiting on whatever he needs to replace that whole box. But we didn't know we could replace the box, John.
You're getting a new meter base, right?
Yeah, we need the new box because so because I don't own the building, I mean, we just needed to, normally we wouldn't touch anything outside. And because it's outside, you know, now that they've told me that I'm responsible for it or whatever, which is bullshit, but you know, I also don't care. I'll also just fix it. I'll also fix what I have to do and deal with them later if that's what I want to do. You know, like I'm not worried about it that way. But yeah, it's just a matter of getting it done. So it's happening. But it took a couple of days for us to even know who's supposed to do it. I mean, I'm not allowed to touch a bunch of Duke Power stuff. So I needed to make sure we had permission. I mean, like we were clear to, and also they needed to come turn it off so we could touch it because it was hot.
Cool.
So anyway. All right. Are we doing this question, you guys?
Yeah. Well, there's a question here. Is the carnivore diet sustainable long-term? If not, how do you introduce carbs into the diet?
Oh, it is very sustainable long-term. You do not need carbs for any reason whatsoever.
Why?
Because
tell me why.
I'll tell you why. The reason is because your digestive system is the same as everybody else's. It doesn't matter your religion or your color or your ethnicity or anything. Your digestive system can literally not convert anything. I mean, everything that you eat, you know, when you eat it, then you are only converting it to sugar. When food goes through your entire digestive system, it only is sugar at the end of it. Except if you eat animal fat. If you eat animal fat, then it remains fat. If you eat plant fat, it actually still converts to sugar. So we don't need that much sugar. What we need is fat for our cells to be able to actually repair and restore and revive. And so if you don't have animal fat for your body to be able to have the building blocks that it needs, like I always tell everybody, like, you know, in Tennessee, you guys are familiar with tornadoes. So when a tornado hits, a twister hits somewhere, then, you know, if you're trying to repair the damage after a twister hits like the corner of your house, then you can't repair your house with a bunch of bathroom tiles and doorknobs, right? I mean, you need more than bathroom tiles and doorknobs. You need all the parts and pieces that are required. And so when people are trying to say, oh, you know, I just need, you know, CoQ12 or, you know, whatever vitamin that they think they need, you don't know what you need. All right. Infinite intelligence knows what you need. And what infinite intelligence does is infinite intelligence uses fat, like animal fat, because we're animals. Like I don't have any chlorophyll flowing through me or anything like that. So animals require animal fat. And when we eat animal fat, then our body is able to use that fat to make and rebuild the cells and repair our body systems. And so if we need a little bit of glucose, because our brain requires a small amount of glycogen, and that little bit, whatever it is that we need, we can actually make our sugar ourselves. Also, when you eat meat, the protein is all converted into sugar anyway. So that's all the sugar you need. It's way more sugar than you need. You need fat. And, you know, obviously our body is like very resilient, because if you look at, you know, I'm working with recovering vegans who are like 7-8 years vegan and their bodies are in total, you know, distress, and they're falling apart. But nature has grace. Nature has grace, and the universe is on our side, and the universe is constantly working to keep us alive, even when we're trying to kill ourselves with, I don't know, Powerade or whatever the crap is that somebody's drinking out of a can. I don't know what people are eating and drinking, but I know that it is amazing to me that at gyms they're using Bang or something out of a can as a pre-fuel thing. I'm like, what is that? And then I tried to read the ingredients of whatever the crap is. And I'm like, you mean you want bone broth? What you want is a steak. You need eggs. I don't understand what's going on here. But like, if your body does not know whatever that crap is that some man invented and put into a can to try to sell you for money. So.
Okay.
Sonny, what's up, man? I see that you're on here. Roy Ayers says, supposedly MMS can take place of antibiotics. There are even testimonials of it curing cancer. What is MMS?
Yeah, what are you talking about exactly? I can tell you what can take the place of antibiotics: salt, fat, honey.
I think it's Miracle Mineral Solution or chlorine dioxide.
Oh, okay. First of all, minerals. So, you know, I offer my people who I coach like this electric juice that we put together, and it has a variety of salts and, you know, anyway, yeah, you do need some essential minerals. Yes. And Dr. Kim Berry is offering some of those. And I mean, there's a variety of places you can get minerals. But the bottom line is, I mean, we were just talking about pickle juice, Nicole and I. I was telling her that, you know, you can restore your electrolytes by drinking pickle juice. That's called gut shots. Like, you could just drink some pickle juice or beet kvass with a little bit of salt.
Yeah, yep. Fermenting is something that, you know, we think about taking control of our health, and it's not that hard to eat nutritiously. I mean, it can be hard if you're addicted to the things that are bad for you, but functionally not difficult to eat well. And then we've also forgotten in our culture about fermented foods. So about the only fermented thing that some people eat is sauerkraut. A lot of times they get it from a can that's been canned and killed everything alive in it, although they sell the bags of it in the store. But there is a whole universe of fermented foods that are fantastic. I mean, cheese is basically a fermented food, but aside from that, you know, there's kimchi, there's fermented beet juice in the form of kvass. There's all sorts of stuff. Pickle juice.
Cheese is cultured, Nicole, not.
Yeah, good point. So
what's the difference? What's the difference, guys? You know, like with the culture, there's the problem with cheese in folks who are unwell already right now is that it promotes sugar and cravings. And so I told Nicole this before. I told a lot of people this, and I'm going to say this again, is that you cannot get off of sugar until you have given up wheat. Wheat has a higher glycemic index than sugar. And as long as you want to defend and protect and, you know, whatever, like never give up wheat for whatever reason, then you can't let go of some of these other addictions. You cannot. And it has been manipulated, and it has been, you know, it's like a religious institution, wheat. Like, you know, for people to let it go, it's like a quantum leap for them to process in their mind to believe that wheat is poisonous. I mean, every single culture like covets it and really just praises it, and it has absolutely zero benefit in your life. It has zero. In fact, it's cocaine. In fact, I won't coach anybody who's on wheat. If they're eating wheat and they refuse to give it up, I will. It's like coaching a smoker. There's no point to it. So I literally refuse.
Here's the one. If y'all don't mind, difference in wheat in the U.S. versus Eastern Europe. Any observations?
It's all poison. It's a global war that's happening right now. So people who, I mean, you know, anybody who's really people say, well, when we were in Europe, we did blah, 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 da, 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 something. And it was probably 30 years ago when you did that. But even then it was bad. I mean, like the poisoning of the earth has been happening. Like these people, these crazy people who are poisoning the food, they've been doing it for 100 years. So it's not something new. And actually before that, because, you know, back all the way to medieval times, you know, the kings were the ones who would eat the white stuff, like the sugar and the, you know, the cake and stuff. Do you not remember, what was it? You know, let them eat cake. I mean, let them eat cake. They did that on purpose. Oh, let them eat cake. Let's just, you know, because you can control people with slave food. So if you want to continue to consume the slave diet, then you should totally do that. Like, you know.
But let's also look at, okay, the king also owned all the meat. The king had, you know, gamekeepers and forest keepers, right? The peasants grew the crops to feed the meat that the king had. The peasants didn't get to eat the meat. They might be lucky to have a chicken or two and get an egg here or there, or kill some squirrel unknown to the king. But they would literally put people in prison or kill them for hunting deer in the king's kingdom, right? So the people that did all the labor, they didn't get to eat the meat. And if we look at like USSR, like Russia collapsing, right? The collapse of USSR, or during Holodomor, right? All those people that are alive today, they didn't survive by eating meat. Like when Russia collapsed, and that's where Sonny's from, that's where he's coming from with this question. They had no choice, because you would wait in line the entire day to go to a market, and they had 2 things in there, and none of it was ever meat. When the president from Russia came to the United States, he wanted to see grocery stores. And when they took him to I believe it was Gorbachev or somebody prior to Gorbachev. And when he toured these grocery stores in the United States, he said, Russia can never beat the United States because every person in the United States eats meat. Nobody in Russia has access to any of that. So in the collapse of society, which is where most of these people are having this conversation from, meat's not going to be an option. Like we can't store 5 years worth of meat. Like I can store 5 years. You've walked past them every time you're in here of wheat berries and beans and other bullshit. I don't want to eat those. I don't eat them now. I plan to not eat that stuff, but somebody's going to eat that stuff. Like you can't store that much meat.
The only way to store that much meat is on the hoof.
I'll argue a little bit on that. I'll say, John, so they did get meat, but it was the scraps. They got the bones and the organs and whatever the unwanted scraps were. And actually the peasants got soup. So they did have bone soup. Like they had bone broth. They had bone broth, and they had some of the vegetables too. But they didn't have the bread. They didn't have the bread. So they were mostly fasting and on soup. They actually weren't on the bread. That was in prison in the palace, because they'd give them the dry bread or whatever. I mean, I agree with you that, you know, there's got to be a better solution for us to be able to have meat. You can it, you know, you can, there's different ways to preserve meat that we can do without refrigeration and stuff, for sure.
Like Wartime Farm. If you look at the KPBS, Wartime Farm and Tudor Farm. Wartime Farm was right at World War II, the UK, the government still controls all farming in the UK from that act that they passed. But they said, okay, we're not going to grow cereal crops to feed to meat that people are going to consume. We're going to cut the meat out, and we're going to grow cereal crops, and people are going to consume the cereal crops.
But that was after medieval times. Let's just clarify
correct. That more recent. That's why I'm bringing it up. Even more recent, right?
That's now because they know that will kill them, and that will control the people. So, you know, back in medieval times, the peasants did get all the meat scraps, and they actually were stronger than all of the, you know, royal family. And the royal family and stuff were the ones who were suffering with gout and things of that nature, which are all side effects of, you know, sugar and grain and wine and alcohol or whatever. So, people think that gout and all of those things is a side effect of meat, when it is absolutely 1,000,000% not. It is only about sugar.
Yeah, I thought it was mostly people that consume tons of beer for the most part.
Well, alcohol for sure, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, definitely alcohol.
Which is sugar.
All the sugar.
I know when you detox from having carbs in your life to a diet that's more meat based, that some of us who used to drink a lot more than they do now might have had symptoms of gout for a week or two.
Oh yeah.
It was like part of the because there's this moment where toxins dump, and it all came out like weird joint stuff for me. And I know one other person who had my habits who that happened to them. It felt like they had gout.
My husband had gout. I had arthritic bone pain, you know, but I mean, I started carnivore because of my arthritic bone pain. And that was coming from all the vegetables. And once I got rid of that, I didn't have any of those issues anymore. And so, you know, can't pay me to eat that stuff. It's hard to get me to eat the pickles, but I'll do it sometimes because I need the electrolytes. So, you know, I'll drink it. Somebody over here is asking, what's your explanation for the rise of gluten allergies? Well, first of all, plants have been poisoning you forever. You just don't know it. Or, I mean, I know a lot of people who have eczema who don't think that they're gluten sensitive, or they don't think there's a problem. But you stop eating wheat, you won't have eczema. If you stop eating wheat, you won't have arthritis. In just about 99% of the cases. I would say there's 99% of the cases, you stop eating wheat, you will not have arthritis. You won't. You also won't have eczema. But, you know, is that going to happen in 5 days? Probably not. Probably not happening in 30 either. Got to do more than the whole 30.
People are weaker today too. I mean that's part of it. Like you said, in medieval times, there wasn't an option to be weak, right? Human beings have evolved to be weaker now with all the shit and the bombardment and all the electronics and everything. I mean, it's just a compounded issue. It's not just that, it's 100 other things. And somebody said, you know, the weak just died. There was no weak people in medieval times. I mean, you want to see, let the electricity go off for 3 days here. What do you think at least 10% of your population is going to die in the first 72 hours?
Correct.
We keep people alive that cannot remain alive by themselves any longer.
Correct. On purpose. This is all by design, because they don't care about you, you know? Like all the people that want to keep you safe are full of shit. Like, they're not trying to keep you safe. Nobody's trying to keep you safe. Okay. I hate that language. It makes me so mad whenever I hear them say that. They're like, you know, this is for your safety. Yeah, I don't need to be safe. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm alive. So if you're living, then you want to walk in danger. You want to just, because you're alive. Living is dangerous. It's fun too. It's fun. You can't have fun without walking on a line of danger.
That's true. That's true.
You watch your kids. Look at them when they're having the most fun. You're just like, oh my God. Yeah, don't do it. Like, you know, that's fun. It's fun. It's fun to walk on a balance beam and jump rocks and, you know, whatever. Those are all the fun things. So
here's a fun one. General thoughts on the FDA. Are there any organizations reforming the FDA?
No.
Go.
Oh God. They need to read my book. All the does are full of crap. There's a revolving door for anybody who does not know this already, that the corruption is so bad, you know. So the corporatocracy is running the centralized systems, and that same corporatocracy has oversight on themselves, because all of these positions, like the FDA people and whatever, I mean, FDA, USDA, NCDA, CDC, everybody, which, by the way, none of them are the boss of me. None of them are the boss of me. They try to be the boss of me, and I tell them they're not the boss of me, and then they can't do nothing. They have to just go away. They try to close me down all the time, but no, they can't do it. Also, for the record, I don't have any permission. I don't have anybody giving me permission. I don't have anybody protecting me, keeping me safe from the CDC or the USDA or the NCDA. Everybody wants me to tell them what my trick is or whatever. I'm brave. I'm just a badass, basically, because if you're going to come to the door and tell me that you need to come in because I have to comply, I'm just going to say, no, I don't, and go away and back up.
The FDA. So I think general thoughts on reforming anything like the FDA, for me, always go back to, why do we need the FDA? We don't. I can't see any logical reason why we need it, why it needs to be run by the government, why there can't be some sort of private certification that people can decide they want to participate in if they're worried about the safety of something. No, but the minute we entrenched the policy in government and then added an oversight board that's related to the very people in the industry that benefit from the FDA keeping out competition, it became a tool to be used against competition rather than something that's going to really keep us safe. And we see that when we see when you watch the drug approval processes and how political they are, when you watch, I mean, the CDC was great to watch the last 2 years. Like, wow, all of these recommendations, where are they coming from? Oh,
it should tell you everything you need to know about the FDA, that I can take 200 chickens up the hill there and I can slaughter them and give everybody chicken breast, and the FDA doesn't say shit about it until there is money involved. Then they're there and you have to be licensed, right? You can do the exact same thing for free, but until there is a financial gain, you will never be oversighted by the FDA unless you're making a money. You can do the exact, I can stand out at Walmart in the parking lot and give away chicken breast. Nobody will come and say shit to me until I am taking money for it.
Yeah. So the other part of that is, you know, we created these institutions to create ease for us. We created, well, we didn't create it. Actually, we were convinced that we should create these things for ease. Okay, that's what it was created for. And this was a trick 100 years ago by the Rockefellers, when this all really goes back to the Flexner report. Literally, all of this does. So when they centralized all our systems based on the Flexner report that was filed in 1910, go look it up. Then what happened is that we were convinced, the American people were convinced by these people in charge, Mr. Global, whoever it is, somebody convinced us that we should have a system in place so that it would create ease for the American people, because we're so amazing, and we should have someone taking care of this for us on our behalf. And so we were going to, you know, have this ease created, which would allow us to know that all of our food was safe. Again, if you're trying to keep me safe, you're full of it, because you don't care about me. And also, nobody cares about you more than you do. Also, reasons we don't need a certification. Also, reasons we don't need any regulation. Because guess what? If I say, hey, John, can I get some eggs from you? And John's like, okay, I'll let you have some eggs. And then I am like, hey, John, I got those eggs from you, but one of them was rotten. I just thought I'd let you know. Maybe I'm just letting him know. Maybe I just want him to check his own eggs. Maybe I want him to do something about it, whatever it is. Maybe John's like, whatever, Niti, you're freaking welcome that I gave you some damn eggs. Or John could be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, you know what? Probably it came from, you know, maybe we didn't sort them out that day or whatever, and that must have been one of those wild eggs that we had on the property or something. But everybody out here has been made to believe, the consumers have been conditioned to believe that somebody else is always responsible for your safety, and you're not responsible for anything. That's the problem. And it began because we had this idea that was put into everybody's mind by these institutions that we should allow them to take care of us. That was mistake number one. Well, we could just stop doing that right now. We could just not care about that this moment by going and supporting a farmer, or going and supporting a ranch, or growing it and raising ourselves and doing everything ourselves. I mean, if you don't want to do it all by yourself, like I don't want to, I have a whole world of people that we work together collaboratively. I mean, I'm over here collaborating with these two amazing people right now. I'm just saying, like, you know, we're not in this alone. We're in this with a whole bunch of people, which is how, you know, I am not really a one woman show. I mean, I am kind of, but not really. And we all have to be working together for this to happen. But what we want, I would really like to just express to all of you that someone has made you believe that you need them to take care of you. And I'm here to tell you that you don't, and you shouldn't, and don't do it.
That's because when you no longer mind, they no longer matter. They need you to need them. And that was part of the division, right? With even anything that's a government program to help people, right? The first thing they do is split the family up. If the woman gets government assistance, the man can't live there. So the child is raised without a father in the house. So the kids know only what they've seen mom do. So the kids come up to be reliant on the system, and they typically all vote in one way. And it's a big perpetual thing. It is designed to break the family up so that the next generation, they need the government. They look to the government for that check. They don't know anything different. they will never have anything better because nobody said, hey, you can simply go do this other thing. They just keep going. And it's on purpose. How do you control human beings? You control them by their food.
And emasculate the men, and then get the mama bear out of the house.
Yeah.
Well, and if you have people convinced that their safety is somebody else's responsibility, that mindset just is step one towards victim mindset. And when you have a victim mindset, you end up dependent. When you end up dependent, you're easier to control. Because now I can take away whatever thing you're dependent on me for. Oh, you can't have this unless you do that. Oh, you can't have this unless you do that. And the thing that you do becomes more and more onerous and more destructive to your own well-being.
Can I address this comment Kenneth Mason Jr. just said?
Yeah, he's talking about redlining. Kenneth Mason Jr., he's talking about redlining.
Oh, yeah. They redlined in Portland into the 80s in my neighborhood.
They did it everywhere.
This whole statement that he just made, I want to say something about that. So you're saying it happened to the Black community. It happened to every so many sexes. Well, first of all, it happened to white men too, which no one's addressing. It's also happened to like my parents were born slaves to the British India Company. So Blacks in America, their parents weren't slaves. And the only thing that's enslaving people in America at this moment is their mind. It's their mind. And the moment, like everything that, like our parents were raised growing up as slaves. They didn't have choices. India's only been free since 1947. My mother was born in the blackouts. Okay. So like all her brothers and sisters and my grandparents and all of my, all of our parents were slaves. They can't possibly even understand what freedom looks like, how to have freedom. I mean, our parents brought us to this country to have a better life, which they didn't even know what was a better life. They just knew that they wanted to be able to come here and get a job. Okay. And they got here and got a job, and that's great. But I was able to experience what actual real freedom was. Even today, my mother asks me, she's like, who told you could just go do all these things? Because, it's not a law. It's not legal. And I'm like, oh, well, I just woke up one day and just knew it. As should anybody. Everybody should know that you are worthy beyond belief. You were born worthy beyond belief, and you are important, and you matter. And everybody who's trying to diminish you is trying to do that to control you. And it is not for you. The reason you want to defy everybody trying to control you all the time is because that is your natural state. Your natural state is to, fight for your life. And we're here to tell you, yes, that is true. Don't allow anybody to diminish you out of that. But
okay.
What they're saying is, I'm just saying it's a mental thing that everybody needs to stop believing.
Yep. We have somebody back to brass tacks on diet. Any cold lunch ideas besides lunch meat? When you're on a primarily meat diet, I think is where that's coming from.
Well, he said lunch money adds up. I would ask first, do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you vape? Get rid of all the bullshit. Take a second job. I mean, I have no time for that money hard shit because I came home from prison and literally had nothing and had to walk into a place where I didn't have any identification, driver's license, nothing, and convince two men. I had to walk in and go, I was in federal prison yesterday. Will you give me a job? And by the end of the week, I had 3 jobs working 80 hours a day. I don't know your circumstances, but I got no time for that money's hard bullshit. Like, especially you're on some kind of device right now watching this broadcast.
Right. So, we were on food stamps, and, people try to say you can't afford regenerative meat or whatever it is. Our daughter was dying. I don't know how we paid for it, but we did. We haven't eaten crap out of the store in 12 years.
I can tell you what I do for lunches when I'm on the road is I make deviled eggs. I cook bacon. I cook some other meats and throw them in, and I eat that out of the cooler cold. And it's not just lunch meat. Like, you can have a steak that's, and just eat that. It works great for me when I go on road trips. And then I have I do bring some freeze-dried foods I've made if I want a hot meal at some point. But the minute I figured out that having things that I can eat with me is important, and it keeps me from, because my problem isn't the money. It's I'm going to go to a restaurant and spend money on shit that makes me feel bad. Right.
Right.
So I just end up packing everything and bringing it with me. But it's going to be meat-based for me because I'm on a meat-based diet.
Okay, did you just say you're saving for the nods? So you're saving for a $3,500 NVG, minimum $3,500 night vision device. I like your role. I can appreciate it. Amanda and I get up on a Saturday morning, 4:30 in the morning, 5, 6 sometimes, right? We don't eat our first meal until noon when we get into Nashville or wherever we're going. We snack on beef jerky all the time. It's just cut up meat and some seasoning. She makes a big, huge Ziploc bag, and we eat beef jerky. I cook it on my own Excalibur. I process it so that it's nice and tender, right? It's not super dry. So it's not going to last real long because it will mold, but holy cow, is it good. As far as making meals go further, I got a dude here, cooks all the time. Amanda cooks 2 days a week. He cooks 5. He made a big, huge thing of birria yesterday. He made several tri-tips last week. I slice that stuff up and I use that in breakfast with eggs. I add eggs into everything. If I'm traveling and need to take it, I can slice off a huge piece of that tri-tip. I can slice it up, put it in a Ziploc bag. Everything's doable. You just have to be willing to do it. And I don't take the time to cook. I have freezers full of meat that I never prepare. I just have them there for in case, I guess. But we have people that cook. I'm so lucky that I've got people that cook for me all the time. I just go into the refrigerator and grab some shit. So you have to be the person that preps your meals. And if you prep, it's cheaper to cook bigger volume. And if you do that, you can take that extra and mix it together with other shit and just eat that. And as far as I keep wanting to say the fermented thing, I don't have to ferment my food because these two, they come here all the time and leave a ton of I love when Niti travels because she never takes her stuff home. I get it. I have a whole section in my refrigerator full of stuff these guys made. We do can though. We also do.
Yeah.
Well,
here's a fun one.
Say that I don't have to worry about these lunches because I've made myself so hardy in terms of being able to fast that I don't have to carry anything. But if I want to carry something, then I mean my children can fast. So when people tell me that that's too hard or whatever, I mean you're full of it. Like you need to just decide that this is what you're going to do, and you can do anything you want to do if that's what you want to do. I do think that chicken and pork travels better cold, in my opinion. So like I will always just have some bacon, or I will, like my daughter, she's 13. Okay. She's a picky eater, if you want to call her picky eater, but like I can take some chicken and I can dress it in my baconaise and she'll eat it out of a jar anywhere. And so it's pretty much, it's self-preserved, you guys, that way. So you can carry that everywhere.
I just had to ask this question because it's fun. Thoughts on lab-grown meat? Is it our inevitable future? My first thing is the only thing that's inevitable is what you let happen to you. But we'll just pass it on to Niti for the next.
Oh, all I'm going to say is that I operate under the laws of the universe, and I don't support anything that defies universal law. Which, that's an arrogant human being that thinks that they can create something, better than, nature itself. So whatever. It's not going to be my future. It's actually been something, it was something I wrote about in my book. I said, the future of meat is fake meat. And then look, boom, it was out. But I've been telling people that for 12 years, and they've been actually selling it to you for longer without your knowledge too, if you didn't know this. And the perfect example for some of these things is like tilapia, salmon everywhere. Salmon only runs once a year. What
about all the cows? What about all the beef that we eat is all cloned? Anybody heard that?
I've heard that.
I know that they started like 3D printing meat a long time ago, but what I don't like is knowing that they were feeding it to people in restaurants unbeknownst to them and like running tests on it or whatever. And, people would maybe just say, ooh, this tastes bad or something, and then they get their money back. But they've already eaten it at that point.
Look at all your fast food places right now, right? Even Kentucky Fried Chicken has a fake chicken, right? And what's all the marketing say? You can't tell the difference. I did not know this was fake. Well, if it's so good, what makes you think they're actually giving you real meat at the drive-thru? I'm betting that they don't. And the fake meat has your entire month of soy intake that the government says is healthy for you in one sitting. And they wonder why little girls are having periods when they're 11 and 12 and dudes are growing boobs.
You mean 8.
He means 8.
8?
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's horrible. Let me tell y'all something about this menstruation, actually. I just want everybody to know this, is that girls, you really don't want them to start their cycles until after they're 13. The longer that they wait to have a cycle, and then the more babies that you have, actually is what strengthens your ability to fight cancer. Did you know that? Did you know that for every cycle, which is a flooding of estrogen in through the female body, okay, every cycle is putting you at more risk for having cancers. And that's the reason why back in the day, they used to say, go get 40 acres and have 10 children. They didn't say it to have 10 children as your slaves. They said it because if a mama is having 10 babies, that's how long she's having no cycles for about 12, 15 years. So that is just extending her power to be a natural cancer killer.
Somebody said, don't forget all the meat glue. What he's talking, the pink slime, right? If you don't know what pink slime is, look that up. Holy shit. So they literally take the scraps off the floor. They put it in a machine, spins it.
With ammonia.
And it makes it with ammonia. That's how, look at how they make chicken nuggets, right? They don't gut those chickens out.
It's not chicken.
Yeah, it's nuts. But they glue this together, right? So you can take a raw piece of meat, slap it on a 400-degree grill, 30 seconds each side. It's seared off all the bacteria. You can eat that stuff raw in the center, no problem. They take the small pieces of meat, put them together. So when you sear that stuff, that bacteria that might have been in there is still in there. And that's why you can get sick from that, from being undercooked.
Highlight this Roy Ayers thing about milk. Okay, guys, see this right here? This is I'm gonna debunk this for a minute, okay? This is a lie. If you were to go on a farm or anywhere where there is a milking cow or any lactating mother, like it could be a hog that just had babies or whatever, every beast around is trying to go nurse off that mama. Every single one. Any little one that can get up onto, and it's not going to be just another hog, okay? It's going to be any creature that can get up against that mother and drink some of that milk. It is going to. And when we're milking on the farm, then everything in its mama is trying to drink that milk, and every insect and every pathogen that you can imagine is trying to be in that milk. So that is an incorrect statement. Let's just stop speaking lies. Also, the only reason there's milk that's full of estrogen is because you have an animal that's out of balance. So that's also an incorrect statement. Also, the stuff in the store is all poison. If you read my book, it says #get out of the grocery store, because literally everything inside of it is poison. So it's not just milk, it's everything. If it passes health code, it is poison. And it's more than estrogen that's a problem in that, because they also are putting all these fake sugar chemicals in there. They're also, it isn't chemically anything natural that your body can recognize. But if you have access to like raw Jersey milk that's been raised on pasture, then you have no idea what kind of powerful medicine that is. And it might not agree with everybody, because you just might have so much autoimmunity that you have to heal before you're able to even tolerate any of that. But don't villainize milk. Don't villainize nature's pure, real food.
Johnny,
okay.
said, I heard they want to grow slabs of meat in the lab. That's the most horrific thing. Not they want to, they are. They have been for a decade now. It's been pretty mainstream. That's what all this stuff is. And as far as the estrogen in milk, a lot of that has to do with the diet of the animal. It's all soy based. And then they spray glyphosate. Do you know how they harvest soybeans? They spray them with Roundup.
Glyphosate.
And then right before they harvest them, they spray them again because the salt removes that. So that's why you have glyphosate in milk. You can test all the children's cereals, all the sugar cereals. Every one of them test positive, high levels of glyphosate. And what's that doing in your kids?
Poisoning them.
I don't drink a lot of milk. I use milk when I'm going to eat cereal because cereal's not good with water on it. And I don't eat a lot of cereal either. But
Niti's head just went.
I have milk that Niti left in the refrigerator, and it doesn't go bad like box milk does. It like you take it out of there weeks later and smell it, and it's not sour. It doesn't. There's something
it'll just turn into yogurt in a minute.
the fake box milk, it just goes bad so much faster.
Yeah. Well, it's dead and it molds or something like right away. Our milk will turn into medicine before it. I mean, it'll turn into some cultured dairy.
Yeah, it'll separate. It'll culture and separate from itself, the solids from the liquids. Ask me how I know this. Why? Because there might have been some milk in my fridge when I got sick and was still there.
I bet you couldn't smell it through your fridge door because it wasn't that bad still.
No, it went to the pigs. I think it went to the pigs today.
When we had a freezer meltdown a couple months ago, there's a video on my YouTube channel of it. When I was standing, I walked in here and you could smell it. And I don't have a freezer in here. So I'm smelling it from out there. And that's where I thought you were going when you said your power was off and it kind of seemed funky. I thought you were going to say that stuff had melted down while you were here.
Oh my God, I would have died.
That's a lot of meat to lose. I can't tell
you how many dead bodies I've had to clean up before. It's not what you want.
We had so much rotted meat. We used a tractor to take it out.
I mean, I had to do that. We had to use the forklift to like literally dump out the daggum freezer. It was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Milk turned into cottage cheese. Sort of.
Sort of.
Sort
yeah,
of.
that wasn't really it, but sure.
Yeah.
Guys are saying on here that the chicken noodle soup in the grocery store says it's now with plant-based chicken. And somebody said, yeah, I just looked and it does say seasoned chicken soy.
Okay, so I thought somebody was fucking with me because I got this bag of it was called like fake meat. I forgot what it's called.
Amazing meat or Beyond Meat.
It was in a pouch. It was supposed to replace. It was a replacement for a pound of ground beef.
So TVP, textured vegetable protein.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? And I looked at it. I was like, where did this come from? And why is it here? And Jaya was like, it's in the mail. It was in the mail, mommy. It was in the mail. I was like, oh my God, this is disgusting. Well, I found out they sell it in the store for $9 and $10 for one bag. And it is nothing but pea protein. And I was like, we won't even feed that crap to our livestock. Like, it's not even food.
So they mailed it to everybody?
I don't know if everybody got this or I just got it. I think it was somebody who just sent me one. I don't really know.
It's a vegan thing, right? Vegans spend a lot of time trying to make shit that's not meat be just like meat.
Right. Why? Like, freaking just be a vegan and go eat some plants. I don't understand.
You remember when you first heard about Whole Foods, right? What was Whole Foods supposed to be? It was supposed to be directly from the soil to the grocery store. It was super expensive because it was good for you and it didn't have all this refrigeration, right? Whole Foods is now owned by Amazon. Amazon owns Whole Foods. Amazon has their own fake meat line, and every Whole Foods has multiple aisles in Whole Foods selling fake meat.
Yep. And when we have snowstorms here, it's funny because I have people who send me pictures from the Whole Foods here, and all the fake meat is always there, and all the real meat is like gone, like they don't have any left in the store. It's like they can't give that crap away. Apparently, I don't really know who's buying it.
Is the body mass index a good way to judge overall health?
No.
I love her answers. No.
If you got to measure and effort and think so much, then no. Real health is natural. That real natural health is easy. It's about ease and flow. It's about ease and flow. I mean, maybe you can say it's hard to manage and, like provide husbandry for livestock or something like that. If that's too hard, then maybe that's too hard. But if that's all you have to do and then just eat it.
Why is it that milk is pushed so hard from the powers that shouldn't be? Commercial, magazine, advertisements. I would say it has something to do with your cereal companies, right? What's the peak of your pyramid, right? What did they tell all these kids for the last 15, 20 years, 30 years? Cereal. What were all your commercials? Cereal. They wanted to sell so much cereal that they put toys in it so the kids would bug the parents to get the box of cereal. It all has to do, milk goes with cereal.
Milk, these poor kids are starving to death. It's like, actually, this was an observation of my daughter, the 13-year-old, she went to one of her friend's houses, and her friend, because, now they're older. And so, parents are leaving the kids home while they go on holidays and stuff sometimes. And so her friend, her friend's parents went out of town to celebrate a birthday or something to Vegas or whatever, left the kids at home with a pantry full of whatever, like boiled noodles or something, and like nothing, like not food, like a bunch of just pantry crap. Okay. Where my children are trained. They know how to take meat out of the freezer, thaw it, grill it on fire. Yeah, I let them play with fire and everything. If they even get to use a knife and like actually cut meat. And on top of that, my son can drive, and that child has a teenage brother who can drive too. So my kids know that if they really just need to go somewhere to a steakhouse and have some meat, they can do it. Worst case scenario. Like, they can, if that's what they need to do. But they know how to cook. They can cook on my stove. But she was just saying that she went over there to hang out with her friend for the day, and she felt bad because her mom was out of town, and the only thing that she could eat was frozen waffles for breakfast or whatever, bread on bread on bread for lunch sandwiches, and dinner was ramen noodles. What is going on? Why are you starving your children while you're out on a vacation in Vegas or wherever you're at? Like, I don't understand it. It's child abuse, in my opinion.
Somebody said corn and wheat. Right, corn and wheat. So what percentage of crops grown in the United States by mass farming is corn and wheat? 75, 80% of it? What do you put on corn and wheat, right? Corn, soybeans. Glyphosate. Who owns glyphosate? ConAgra. Who is ConAgra? Monsanto. What is in, remember when they did the Lacey Act? Remember when Obama, they went all nuts over this lion that got shot? The dentist shot the lion. What you weren't told was the lion was a geriatric lion. He had a tooth infection and an abscess. He was killing other young lions to eat. He was eating easy prey. So they kill this lion. Everybody's up in arms, right? So who hunts animals in Africa? Mostly rich people from the United States, the majority of them, right? So they ban all bringing it back of trophies. It's very difficult to do now. So what did Africa do? What did those areas where they shut down those game reserves? They flew around in helicopters, literally in a 2-week period, killed every single elephant and every single lion that was there in those reserves. That was those whole entire village's source of income. Do you know where all those lion and all those elephants were? Monsanto row crops. The whole damn thing looks like the United States farms right now.
Can we please address Slim's comment about stevia? Stevia is poison, y'all. Stop it.
No, yeah, it's in response to an earlier question, and it was this question, actually. Any thoughts on artificial sweeteners? Are there any safe ones?
No, you just said it's artificial. Artificial. Yeah.
So
no.
If you're the desire people are answering there is a sweet tooth.
Okay, let me just tell you something. I even told John and Nicole this. When we were there, we all got together and we had a dinner, and my daughter made a dessert because it was my son's 18th birthday. And y'all know that dessert had real sugar in it, because we don't have a problem. We don't fear natural sugar. We really actually don't. The problem is that people, how much sugar you think was in there, John or Nicole? How sweet was that?
They were pretty good. Like those were good. I was surprised to hear that, yeah, they were good.
The whole batch of the chocolate muffin things, that they were chocolate muffins, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay. So the whole batch of them only had 8 grams of sugar. The whole batch. And it was real sugar. It wasn't even fake sugar. And it was real dark chocolate. Nicole's very favorite. It was real chocolate. And we melted it, the real chocolate. And that was where all the sugar was. There was no sugar anywhere else. We melted the chocolate chips that had the sugar, which were counted. Like we measured the chocolate chips, which is how we know the whole batch only had 8 grams of sugar. And then the rest of it was cacao. Because, it was more chocolatey.
Right.
Not so sugary. And it was made with almond flour. And it was for my son's 18th birthday. We're not like normally doing a bunch of cakes and stuff over here. But anyway, we gave one to everybody had one.
I had 2.
Okay, you might have 2.
Niti knew she had to bribe me with snack cakes to get us there.
Yeah, it was very important.
Right. So, all I mean is that just eat real sugar, real honey and maple syrup. I would encourage using. But the problem is, I tell somebody you can go have honey or maple syrup. Now you got some lunatic drinking a whole pound of honey every day.
Well, and Aunt Jemima is not maple syrup.
Right.
No. Oh my God. If you're not paying $1 million for your maple syrup from somebody that that tapped a tree and got it, then you are crazy. Stop. Get out of the grocery store. Didn't I just say get out of the grocery store?
Yeah, and I would say addressing the sweet tooth on a ketogenic diet, as you transition off of carbs, things taste sweeter anyway. But if like people tried to bring me desserts early on when I was doing it, and they were disgusting to me because they were too sweet with all these fake sweeteners. And I was like, if you're going to bring me chocolate chip cookies, just bring me chocolate chip cookies, cut the sugar down to a third of what you usually put in there, and I'll like it. But, and I might eat one or I might eat half of one. But I found that just cutting all of that sweet out and retraining myself to not need sweet made a much more bigger difference towards my success.
Correct.
Because just adding the fake sweeteners just makes me want more sweetener.
Yeah. I was telling them that when we started this 12 years ago, the only thing that we did for 3 years was try to stop eating wheat, meaning like we just didn't eat wheat. We were also eating regenerative meat because we weren't trying to be poisoned. So we had gotten out of the store with the meat first. And the other rule was no wheat ever, no matter what. And so and at that time, this was in 2007. So there was no gluten-free nothing in a store. They didn't have gluten-free stuff at the time, okay? They didn't start having gluten-free stuff in the store until after, I don't think I saw it before 2010 or 12 or something like that. I mean, it was late. Like I know that for us, there was nothing gluten-free in a store anywhere. And I had a gluten-free baker here locally who had her baking for our CSA, which is how we were able to have bread and whatever. And if she couldn't make it, we couldn't eat it because there was nothing anywhere. You couldn't, like nowadays, you got like Siete, you have all these different store brands that are making gluten-free stuff in the store. But back then we didn't have anything. And so we've never actually allowed ourselves to be in the habit of anything from the store since we started out without all that, right? The only thing that we are probably using out of the store, which I don't get from a store, I actually have a direct relationship with Tinkyata brown rice pasta, is to get the brown rice pasta. And I get that pasta for my members to help them get off of wheat, because I'm telling you, the bigger challenge here is, somebody said something about acorn wheat, which it's not acorn wheat. It's Eichorn. It's like EIKO.
No, they said acorn flour that you make from acorns. That's a thing. You take the acorns and you process them into flour.
Squirrels.
Yes.
Oh.
It was acorn flour, not einkorn.
Oh, how about don't even do that? Did you know that you could take any squash or any potato and turn it into a batter, and that can be bread? I'm serious. Take any any squash, or any potato, and bake it and strain it so it's not wet, like if it's a squash, and then just use the meat of it. And 1 cup of that is a batter, like pretend like that's your cup of batter. Okay. And then what you do is you add, you use arrowroot and baking soda and salt and an egg. And you can make muffins out of it. Did you know that? Or dinner rolls. It could be your dinner rolls, and it's just vegetables. It's 100% keto.
So, are all grains bad? Have you ever looked at the pros and cons of maize?
Maize.
Sorry.
Yes,
German
all
pronunciation.
grains are not digestible by human beings. We can't process the grains, guys. It's too much sugar. It's just about our digestive system. Also, somebody said something about gluten-free pizza dough. Just use ground pork for your pizza dough.
Ground beef works too.
Cheese makes an awesome
too dry. I like ground pork because it's a little bit it's a little better. Like, to me, the beef becomes too dry, and chicken is too lean too. Like, it's too lean. But maybe if you like it, whatever.
I like it that way.
Nicole.
I'm gonna do what I want.
Nicole likes it.
John likes his on cheese.
Cheese is good if you can get that to work.
Yeah. Well, the cheese with cauliflower crusts are actually pretty good too.
Just cheese in a pan, and you brown that cheese and crisp it up and make your pizzas on the cheese. Yeah. Like, we give them to people here, and they don't even go, "What is this?" They don't even question what it is. Like, they just eat it as pizza.
Using John.
What about starch? What about starch turning to sugar?
We don't care. It's something my body can recognize, and my body can handle it. And you freaking want to just bake. If you're just wanting to bake all the freaking time, then then who cares? You're wanting to bake, or stop baking. Just grill.
Fake sugar was invented to create an ant poison. Put some out and watch it kill bugs.
Yes. Also, Slim, I thought you were a cowboy. Come on now.
What? How do you make pork crust?
Oh, with pork skins. You can do it.
She's talking about pig skins.
Yeah. Take some
chicharrones.
So, what's really cool is you take the pig skin and you scrape all the fat off of the one side of it, and scrape it real good, and then take that fat and then render it in a slow cooker. And while it's like cooking down, then you take the skins and you cut them into squares, okay? And you just lay them out on your counter and just let them dry a little bit. And by the time that the slow cooker's done, now you have lard, like beautiful lard. So you take that lard, you strain it into, I have a giant cast iron wok. So you put it in there, and then you can take those skin squares and fry them. Oh my God, that is so good. You
can take a bag of pork rinds and just smash them down into powder. That's what we bread all our chicken strips here.
Yeah, that's really good.
Oh, yeah.
The beef crust I make is actually ground beef mixed with a couple of eggs and Italian spices and salt. And I bake that, like, I spread it out flat on parchment paper, bake it at 350 for about 25 minutes till it's done. And then I put pizza toppings on it and then put it in again. That's what I was talking about when I said beef. Ground beef.
I'm so lazy, girl. I take ground pork and I season it with garlic granules and I smash it onto a pizza stone, or I do it in my bar pan because it's going to have grease in it, and then I put it in the oven for 10 minutes, and then all the grease comes out of it. I pour it into the sink, and then I take my sausages and put it on there, and I put my farmer's cheese, Italian seasoning, and whatever other meat I want to put on there, which usually is just more pork, sausage or something, and a lot of cheese. Stick it in the oven, and then I bake it for another 10, 15 minutes. Boom, it's done.
Hey, Jason says we all need to wear hoodies like John so that the food cult looks legit. Mine's in the laundry right now, so otherwise I would be, because it's cold.
Like this.
John's standing in a giant high bay garage with no heat on right now and ice outside.
Yeah.
And,
okay, well, it's about time to wrap up, guys. Are you gonna be at Self-Reliance Festival, Niti?
I really want to be there. I'm just like, I gotta square away all this stuff over here, and I'm like, I don't want to be a sellout. I don't.
that sounds like no.
Yeah.
I gotta just do whatever.
So Niti was scheduled to be at Self-Reliance Festival, which is on February 19th and 20th. Get your tickets at selfreliancefestival.com if you haven't already, because they do go up in price if you get them at the door. But she had this catastrophic power thing, and so we don't know if she'll be there or not, but she'll be there in spirit. And there's going to be a lot of other really cool people there. Niti, if people want to like find your book and all that other stuff, how do they do it?
You can go to farm2forkmeatriot.org, FARMTOFORKMEATRIOT.org, O-R-G.
Was that the name of your punk band?
It was just, me creating a meat riot because I was so mad about them.
Is it true that you used to be in a punk band?
Me? No,
Yeah.
I used to be a singer though.
No, I was in a punk band.
Yeah.
I heard you were a rapper.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
No, but I actually had a record deal with Arista.
Yeah.
It was just wasn't a real contract, so there's that.
Well, that's why you didn't sign it. John, any last words?
No. Everything's good here. I got a ton of people like, oh my God, are you guys okay? Yes, we're okay. Even if we're not okay, we're okay. Like,
yeah,
no
even if they're out of power for Self-Reliance Festival, we're going to do it with generators then, right?
Oh, it'll always happen. Like Self-Reliance, the weather right now says it's 50 degrees while we're doing the expo. So we're good.
I'm going to do my best to get there, John.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. And then kids that don't act like kids can totally come. In other words, if they're going to be getting into stuff.
If you have to ask if your children can come, they cannot. If you just show up with them little motherfuckers and they're like little adults, no problem. There were a bunch of kids here, but if you need to ask if kids are allowed, your kids aren't allowed.
There you go.
I have a lot of stuff here that will kill you, bite you, make the blood come out of your body. And I hate kids. I don't even like my kids, so I definitely don't like your kids. But if they come here and you don't ever have to ask, then no problem, bring them.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for making time today, guys.
And you can't bring your
canines.
What do they call those dogs?
Emotional support animals. Yeah.
You can't bring your emotional support anything. Because I have shit here that will definitely kill.
Yeah, the problem is he's got big dogs that will want to eat your dog, and we don't want that.
My dogs have real jobs, and that real job is to kill other things that aren't from here. So don't bring them.
There you go. All right.
Awesome.
Talk to you guys next time.
See you guys soon.